Hi, thanks for watching. This is Tony. I'm sure you guys have lots of questions related to real estate, and I'd like to address them here. If real estate has been on your mind, be it if you're thinking of selling your home or if you're thinking of buying, yes, there are a lot of frightening headlines out there, but now is the time. Gather information, educate yourself, and work with a trusted advisor to hold your hands and walk you through, what we're seeing and what we're experiencing in the real estate market, particularly here in Denver, Colorado, which is a very competitive market, breaking all sorts of national records. So first question, how long will the economy take to recover from COVID? First and foremost, we've never really had a recent pandemic, that is, in modern history. So there's no data to compare this against with, and so that's one. So experts are a bit struggling in making any inferences or comparison because there's just none. But what we can do is rely on certain data points. First and foremost, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, all are monitoring the GDP growth, and actually I'll tell you in a bit and show you in another slide. They talk about this GDP growth. I'm sure you've heard of it as gross domestic product, but that's one of the major indicators, one of many major indicators that dictate or tell us how healthy the economy is. And we were doing great prior to the pandemic, Q1, and then Q2, or second quarter, with all the lockdowns and all the craziness when US finally realized, the pandemic is here, because before then it was all like happening around the world. Anyway, second quarter we took a nosedive, like into the negatives, getting us into a recession mode ish. So anyway, both three major companies, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley, all came out with a study of this V recovery. That V recovery is saying that we are recovering faster than we thought. I went to Bureau of Economic Activity, and second quarter we were in the negative 31.4% GDP, and then third quarter we were in the positive 33.4. So again, we're recovering, but the big but is now we have to just see what's going on with jobs creation, and we'll need to keep monitoring all of the jobs or businesses that are closing. But what we can look forward to, and again, this is not an overnight thing, so as more vaccines become available and distributed to the people, the confidence will slowly get there. Again, it's not an overnight thing. We'll have to see the trend. Hopefully consumer confidence will be back, jobs will be back, jobs creation will be back, and so forth, as things kind of normalize. Another statistic based from PricewaterhouseCoopers surveyed business owners, and they said that 90% believe business will return to normal within 1 to 3 months of the pandemic's passing. Again, we're still deep in it. We're not anywhere near close, passing this. And me personally, I've been reading a lot of news, and they said that, new strains are coming up. Actually, Colorado hit the headlines as of this recording, that we have the first new strain confirmed patient, or someone who developed or contracted this new strain that's that UK and a bunch of other countries have been talking about. So Colorado, oh my gosh, got it first, or at least known and identified patient with that new strain of COVID. So crossing our fingers it doesn't get worse, especially with all the vaccines becoming available. So that's one. How long will it take? Nobody knows, but so far it's trending positively, that is. And actually in third quarter, I'm forgetting, but it's in the 270 something thousand of jobs created. So again, it's positive. The jobs are still getting created, and unemployment rates have peaked down, if you will, compared to when we all like started with the pandemic. So yeah, all of those things are trending positive slowly but surely. So we'll need to keep an eye on those things, because a lot of those players will, determine how last this will linger. But in general, a lot of experts are already saying if this is the trend, it's going to be slowly but surely of a positive trend line. Again, something to look forward to. It's good to hear. It's positive that it's not like we're completely stuck in this type of economic slump, if you will. So yes, so that's number one. Second big question is, will COVID-19 cause a recession? We already are, at least that's what a lot of experts are claiming. The pandemic pushed us into an economic slump, if you will. However, by definition, recession means it's a period of temporary economic decline during which trade and industrial activity are reduced, generally identified by a fall in GDP, gross domestic product, in 2 successive quarters. Now, we were in the negative in the second quarter, and then a positive trend line in the third quarter. So technically we're not in a recession. And one thing that I'd like to leave you with, and this is like a huge topic, I get it. The 2008 recession is still fresh in everybody's mind, but history will tell you, and again, please review some data as well if you don't believe what I'm saying, because I always get into conversations with people about, well, recession, that means everything is, going down, including real estate. No, in big fat note, a recession does not equal a housing crisis. If you'd like, actually, at some point I'll create a video about it too, on my take on the 2008 recession. But there were a lot of players that contributed to the housing crisis in 2008, and there were major indicators that told us that we were headed that way. But if anything, even with the pandemic, real estate has held it together, breaking and shattering records. So no, if anything, real estate is holding the economy together. So no, we will not have, COVID will not cause a recession related to housing crisis. And if you remember, a crisis typically is a correction, kind of like what happens with the stock market. And in 2008, that's when we saw the correction, because everything was just skyrocketing. And I'll show you in another question about the differentiation between how and where it happened, we got into the crisis. Third big question. If a recession happens, are we looking at 2008 all over again? So kind of piggybacking off of what I've already said, based from the second question, no, a recession doesn't always equate a housing crisis. Particularly in Colorado, actually the whole nation, it's just Colorado is like, again, breaking, shattering records. We all know that it's been a seller's market for a long time. I'll talk about a lot of high details. So it's a seller's market. It means there's not enough inventory in the market, against the buyer pool out there. There's so many buyers out there. And why is that? Low interest rates. And again, contrary to all the headlines of unemployment and deferment and all of that, another thing that's positive is that people learned from 2008, and people are actually okay as far as paying mortgages, and I'll talk about it in another question and maybe another video, but it is nothing like 2008 at all. We are sitting on so much cushion. Actually, in another video, I talked about the 1 trillion equity that homeowners are possessing year to date, this year alone. So, and in Colorado, an average of 18K year to date was to be had, or people have have options. People are sitting on those equities. So yeah, people are doing okay. The factors leading up to housing bubble in 2008 were very, very unique, and it created the perfect storm. And again, I told you there were major indicators that told us all of those, such as risky mortgages, regulation was very relaxed, inflated home values. I think home values were appreciating in the 12+% nationally, and maxed out equities, people were actually in the negative because people were enjoying the appreciation in their home value, so they were borrowing against it. So anyway, it was just a total mess when it all hit. Not enough cushion with equity. Higher interest rates at the time as well, definitely nowhere near what we have now, which is in under 3%. And lastly, excessive inventory led to a wave of short sales and foreclosures that depreciated home values by almost 25%. Again, that's not where we are. It's a seller's market. There's not enough inventory compared to the buyer pool out there. Today's market looks, nothing like 2008. We are sitting on so much equity as cushion. We are still operating under stricter, more sound lending practices. And again, inventory that's like ridiculously non-existent. In Colorado, it's like less than 0.5% of inventory. FYI, a balanced market would have 6 months worth of inventory. That's a balanced market, and we are, again, less than 0.5, not even a month's worth of inventory. And even during winter, normally we see a little bit of relaxation in the market during winter because of the weather. It's cold, it's snowing, but no, it's completely different. And again, interest rates are on your side. So the biggest question is related to this question of if a recession were to happen, are we looking at 2008 all over again? Home prices are just unlikely to be impacted, again, because of all of those forces, laws of economics. There's not enough supply to meet the demand, so price goes up, right? So again, that's just the harsh reality. So if you still think that homes will be impacted, please do your research. But again, simple laws of economics, the scarcity, right? If there's not enough supply of homes, but there are a lot of buyers, then there you go. So the third big question is, will COVID-19 cause a surge in foreclosures? The answer is not really. In particular, in Colorado, one of the market updates that I got was, I believe, I'm forgetting the data, but there's like 300 something thousand that are possibly underwater. And by definition, underwater is, missed payments, not quite could potentially be in the process of short sale or in foreclosure. But you have to put all of these things into context. That's like less than 1% of all mortgages in Colorado, and I believe nationally it's also hovering in the 1%. I'm forgetting either all of these data that I'm telling you, but what I'm saying is, in perspective, yes, there are people who are getting behind. Yes, so there are some mortgages that are considered underwater, but you have to see the whole picture, and the picture is it's very small. Now, will we lead up to a lot? No, because there's the forbearances again. Because homeowners with mortgages are sitting on so much equity, they have a lot more options and wiggle room to work with the lender, and that's either for forbearance or deferment or whatever it is that they can work out with. And we were trying to dissect all of those statistics, and to tell you, it was in thirds. The 1/3 of mortgages that are underwater, 1/3 are in trouble. The other 1/3 is in forbearance, the other one is in deferment. So again, that small, less than 1% of questionable, mortgages, we experts are saying we don't think that it's going to be a problem. Again, as the vaccine becomes available, as people become more confident about returning back to work, as jobs are created. So yes. Last but not least, this question is, should I buy or sell a home right now? The answer is yes. In my other video, I talked about what to look forward to in 2021. Experts are saying if there's anything based on everything that happened this year, we are seeing and looking at possibly a more competitive 2021. So if you're a seller, if you're thinking of selling, don't wait. Even in Colorado, in the winter, typically, we advise clients not to sell in the winter. It's just not the case because there's so many active buyers out there with literally no homes available. So please put your houses for sale. Let me know how I can help. If you'd like to sell, we can talk strategies as well. And if you're a buyer, it's never been cheaper to buy a home because of the stupid low rates. The rates are making it so affordable. And in another video, I'll also talk about, conforming loans, and the limits of those conforming loans have been increased to accommodate the rising, appreciating home prices. So anyway, bottom line is I hope this video addressed those big questions that you have, and hopefully I gave you some data points, some information about, your position to buy or sell and compete in this market. Thanks for watching.